the separations
Well,
between buildings?
Yeah, she wants to, she's referring to the separation of the buildings. I think you need to,
Well,
to
you know,
see it in a two-dimensional.
You know, for better or worse, and it doesn't mean it's you know, it's gospel, but the zoning allows for 0 lot lines here. This is just the way this district is zoned. So if you're talking about this 83 feet, this 83 feet the width, yes, these buildings along West Street are row house style buildings. They have, you know, firewalls, they've got necessary. So the goal here, because we have very strict functional needs, we have theater, we have support, we have a green room, we have these functions that are, we tightened it up. When we took that 3 feet out, it was tricky to make that work. To still have the functions on all levels that it still, you know, achieved its goal for the rich program that the ICC has.
Well,
so, go ahead, Bob.
yeah, I want to bring up the fact that we're 15 feet off the property line.
Yeah, over here.
Over here,
I think, yeah.
and we're additional, if you add we're out to the building itself.
Can you hold up for 1 second? Just look at the difference, the gap between all of the buildings in a row. It's right in line with the existing.
Actually, we have more of a gap in our buildings than we do in the surrounding buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah,
you have it on
Yeah, big one.
This is a city of Kingston. This is a city. This is the width of
There's a
this.
synagogue up on top. Look how wide it is.
Yes, I hear what you're saying, that the spacing is consistent
Yes.
between the other buildings, but the exuberance of the facades and the massing of the facades, it's apples to oranges in that context. And what I'm trying to say is there's a conversation happening about that particular facade and the balconies. And for me, when I start to see it rendered in sort of monochrome, I start to be able to see the structure of the building, the architectural structure of the building better, because I'm not looking at all of the elements. And what I want to do is just say, yeah, the exuberance of and taking advantage of all of the space and the view on this particular facade makes complete sense to me. I understand that you have to reconcile your proposed uses inside the projects by which, you know, dictate the use of the cultural center. But to me, it's particularly this facade that starts to, in these views, loom over the structures that are nearby, and it starts to take away from the sensitivity from you that you've managed to find in the placement. So it almost seems to me like it is nearly as big as it can be, and I wouldn't have the question about the number of balconies or the activity that's happening on this facade if it were small. It's hard for me to reconcile this mass, and I know you've been very sensitive in lowering it in the front abiel facade, making it really sort of tie in more to the roof line and the height of the buildings on that side. It's on this side where you really see the size of the building, and at that point, that in conjunction with the multiple viewing platforms that you would absolutely want to take advantage of, that's where it feels like too much to me. So.
I know we're not supposed to make suggestions to you, but again, I'm playing around with my thumb here, and do I hear say?
We are discussing architectural design, so if you have something specific, then bring it up now.
Well, I was just playing with my thumb. I know you can't reduce this length of balcony because of the terracing, but you could shorten this and you could put near that up at the top, almost celebrating the entrance from the waterfront side, and maybe achieve some of the apparent lessening of at least
The step back.
the step back,
Mm-hmm.
right. Yeah, I'm saying apply that. Maybe just consider this here and here, leaving that because this is a different animal than this and that, or.
Well, you realize this is step back.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just saying, if I understand.
We're gonna
the,
see the side elevation.
Right,
You'll
yeah.
understand that this,
Right,
this
yeah.
actually is step back. This is.
No, I know that.
We're trying to find the profile of the.
Yeah.
We're trying to go this way.
You know,
Right, no, that's why I'm saying don't do it here, because you're enclosing space, right, you can't do it right here. But you could do it here, you could eliminate this railing, and that railing, you could almost accentuate the fact that you're entering the building from this side, from the waterfront side, and create almost a vertical feeling of relief right here, and magically
Well,
align
you're
with
creating,
what
but
the-
doing that,
Yeah.
Alan, you're creating a larger footprint.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
More conditioned area, and that's been something we gave up when
Yeah,
we went back to
yeah.
planning board earlier.
Okay.
Our thought here, our overall thought on this project was to connect this building with the stream,
Yeah,
with the commercial aspect. That's
Yeah.
why we bought the property.
sure,
We
sure.
want people to come here from the stream, right? That's what this building's about, the connectivity there, that's what we concentrate on. That's why we lowered this building as much as we could to connect to that, as low as we could to make it accessible for people, right?
Right.
Because they had different businesses on this path. And, they went out of business, People didn't want to walk up the path, I don't know. But we wanted to make ours as close as possible. So it's that connectivity to this, but not be on top of it. So that's why you have it recessed. It's 10 feet off the path at its nearest point.
It angles a little.
But as it goes towards these buildings here, it's got to be, what's the distance back? It's got to be
20.
it's almost 20 feet. You are set back and you step back. That's what we tried to achieve there. Not to override the stream. And to be respectful of the neighbor to the left here, right? And that's what we try to do with this building. That's really what the whole emphasis on this whole thing, to do that to attract people from the Strand area.
I hear you. Again,
Okay, so it would be, what you're accentuating is this view here, am I following you, Bob? This is
Yeah,
kind of what you're
yeah, exactly.
getting at?
Right, it's 10 feet, at this point. It's 10 feet from the front of the retaining wall back, okay, to the building. And then, as you can see, it goes back like this.
Yeah.
So the other buildings are out front here, crowded, right? They're out here. And this picture is great because you can't see this building walking down the stream, right? Don't forget, you're seeing pictures where it's impossible to see from, right? You really can't see it from these vantage points, right? And very few vantage points that you can actually, big trees. We didn't put any trees in. We didn't put any obstacles in. The old bridge, you can't see it when you're driving. It's impossible. You have to go up on that bridge to take advantage of it. So this is, I believe, is 3 feet overhang here. This is out, let's say another 6 feet from this. So it's 3, and that step back, how far?
One above is 12.
This is 12, this is 15,
Yeah,
12, 15, and this is extended out
12 feet.
another 5 feet. But the bottom foundation's out, right? The building is stepped back. So it's stepping to that's the whole principle.
I hear that.
Be respectful of, and try to fit this thing in and work both ways.
There's still a lot of activity happening on the facade in comparison to the historic architecture of the West.
When you say activity, do you mean design activity or do you mean people activity?
Design activities.
Okay.
And you feel simplicity,
I feel quieter architecture would, and a smaller facade on Company Hill Path would go a long way in helping reconciling the building at this highly visible point.
and would you be looking to have that carry through to Avio, or?
Not necessarily. I think on the Beale Street side, the visibility is diminished. You don't, it's a narrower street, you're coming at different angles. I am comfortable with 83 for frontage on the Beale Street. Plus, it's not facing directly at a Beale at an angle.
recess for a few minutes. We'll take a break for 5 minutes. and-
Everyone okay with that? Thank you,
But
Glenn.
let me just ask one question before I go, because I want to be clear, because a lot of time, of course, as you know, has been spent. Now, the impetus of the design.
Can we take a recess? I want to talk through that.
Thank you. All right, anyone need to grab a drink, run to the bathroom, now's your moment.
We have like one bank group that I would love to let the bank group try to go.
Can I call my?
He's not here.
Oh, he's not here?
He's not physically
Okay, good.
here.
I was thinking he'd been sitting here all this time.
No, no, he,
Where is he?
Lori said,
So it's just like they don't need to.
yeah, the only thing that's visible is replacement in time. You can send them a note.
Okay. I'll take that one.
Thank you. Is there something you'd like to present?
Well, so in listening to your comments, which we appreciate, we're listening to them and taking it all in. One of the things about the project I want to say, the overall statement is that we have been listening to a lot of people who've had a lot to say about the project. And have done our best and bent over backwards in many aspects to make this project fit in the location it's in. It's an appropriate location. It is the West Strand. It's part of the revitalization of the city. And it's the appropriate location for a cultural center with the theater, with the multi-use spaces, other performances, gallery space, so on and so forth. There's a restaurant in the project as well. And in listening to all the disparate aesthetic perspectives, we can't build a building that's going to satisfy each of your aesthetic personal requirements. But we can build a building that's within the bulk requirements, and we're well under the bulk requirements. As Brad said before, this zero lot line zoning district, we could build a building right up to the property lines, which we did into it. There is a setback that's equivalent to all the other setbacks, side yard setbacks in the area. And if you look at this row of buildings, it's an unbroken row of structures from Broadway around the block in that L shape there. And in terms of reducing the width of the building, we're not going to do that to satisfy your concerns here, because it is outside of the scope of what we're doing here tonight. We can address your concerns in other ways. And we have been before this board on several other occasions. I know you were not all the same members the last time we were here, but this has been a very long process for us to go through. So at this juncture, it would be inconceivable to redesign the building in terms of the building's bulk. The building has a specific purpose in mind. It has a theater, like I said, it has other cultural aspects to it, and we are hoping that this commission will balance the intended and allowed use with the preservation of the district, of the landmark district, and hopefully just to focus on that. And I think I'll stop talking to Brad to respond to the other design comments and concerns that we've expressed. But we did want to come back here and say that because I felt this thing was veering off to a place where the building was being redesigned for us in terms of the overall bulk, which would completely eliminate the purpose of the building. What do you think makes sense to build?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I agree with Ron. I believe that this building can be a very important, significant structure in addition to the rundown. I think, I for one feel like the mass, the width are both consistent and accommodating and appropriate for this site. We are proposing a 106-foot wide building that goes from lot line to lot line. And we are proposing a building that has, a series of Victorian, sized facades that stitch together to make it seem like it's different buildings, because it's not. It's a cultural center, and it has a very rich offering to the entire Hudson Valley. This is really not just about Kingston, it's about the creating a destination and a place where people come together and celebrate culture. We have gone through tremendous pains on the design, and it's not going to suit everybody. It's going to, everybody's going to want to see something different in here. The fact is, we've completely retooled it from what we started with. This was an industrial look to begin with. And I was frankly trying to design something more unique, you know, with circular, you know, nautical style windows, with solar railings at the top. That had a very modern reference and function. We heard a lot of commentary that said we don't want that. So we really did go back to the drawing board, and we really took pains at making a building that would fit in much more with the Rondout district, with its neighborhood, with the context, with the setbacks, the massing, everything. We really did do a very careful and deliberate design revision on this. And we came back to the planning board and had some success there. And SHPO looked at it and they said, this looks great. I think, you know, you should run with it. And right now, it's as slender as it can be. It just can't be. And Ron is absolutely right. This is as of right. We are under the bulk regulations in area, in width of the building. We have accommodated concerns at the Abiel Street side by reducing the amount of parking and increasing the amount of greenscape area and hardscape area, so that it's not, you know, as much of a parking lot as it was. And that was a problem, and we acknowledge it, but parking is it's a whole other issue that we have to address in Rondout, no matter what happens, what gets built anywhere. So I don't want to go on too much longer. I just want to say that we really did take pains to create a design that we feel is celebrating the function, the form, and the spirit of what we're trying to do here in Rondout for the ICC.
Yeah, and I also think it's very important. I hope you take into consideration what the proposed use of the building is. It actually is proposed to be a cultural center, and we think will be an important addition to the city. We'd like to see more development like this going on in the city. And I know that my clients and Brad have taken great pains to try to make this work. And we certainly, you are a very serious commission. I was in front of earlier groups of the Landmarks Commission, and we appreciate your insights, and we take them very seriously. But just hope that you'll balance that with understanding that to accomplish the goal of making a cultural center, and with a relatively small little theater that's going to be used by the community, open to the public, there's always going to be some type of compromise that has to be made. And we just hope that you find that the balance of the aesthetics that Brad is trying to put into the building to comport with the requirements of this landmark district work in the final analysis for it.
I just want to add one more thing. Our firm has done large buildings in very different situations. In completely new construction in Woodstock, Bard College, large-scale buildings that also are fallen historic overlay districts. And there were concerns expressed. We built the buildings, we got them approved, and they were built, and they fit in very well now. And I have to say that I fully believe that this building will fit in very well, exactly as we designed it and how we located it on the site.
You say the Empire State Building, right?
It's a landmark structure.
Right.
Well,
Now it's a landmark.
Yep, Rockefeller Center.
These
things are not worn easily.
So,
And they're also huge, massive structures. So, you know, the size of the structure shouldn't weigh as heavily as the purpose of the building, the way it sits within the district. And we hope that these materials that we brought tonight have helped you to see that. We understand some of the concerns about the size of the building. We hope that you'll also realize there's the only way to accomplish a project like this is to take a chance and to let something like this go ahead. Otherwise, Kingston is going to remain the way it's been for decades. And this is really adding to the vitality of the city. Great pains were made to ensure that, by the way, any of the activity going on with respect to the theater is going to be facing the West Strand. So it will be complete separation from the adjacent residences. And that's why the building was lined up along the company path. to try to accomplish that goal. So, with respect to the balconies, you can look at them a couple of different ways. Comments have been made. You were expressing concerns about maybe they were excessive because of the width of the building, and having the third level. But hopefully you'll understand that that first level really was entirely dedicated to entrance to the theater, because you'll have people coming up the company hotel into the building, and they have to have space to stand outside the theater, because once you walk into those doors, you're basically going to be seated. So you can't really make that now. And to celebrate the roundabout and the view of the restaurant from the building, I think the intention was having those two balconies on top of the grade level entrance to the theater really made a lot of sense. There was a feeling that it would have been foolish to abandon any hope that that could be accomplished. And by the way, that's going to be seasonal. People won't be out there all the time, but in the warm weather, they'll be out there just as we want people on the promenade, the outdoor seating here at the restaurant, and all the other activities that we hope result in the revitalization of this part of town.
This project is going to come to be seen as a great amenity in the rundowns of Kingston and Hudson Valley. And to even think that it would lay fallow for more years into the future breaks my heart. I think we're proposing something, and we put a lot of thought into this and a lot of care, and responded to a lot of concerns. And I hope we can build it.
And lastly, I'll say we sincerely appreciate your comments. I personally am blown away by the professionalism of all of the members on the commission. I'm not saying that to patronize you. This has been very impressive. But I hope you'll understand that, as you said at the outset when you went through your analysis here, how difficult this is because there hasn't been a project like this in Kingston in many decades. Please take into consideration that in understanding that it's very difficult to make the perfect project. It's going to satisfy all these concerns. You've pointed out some things that are very perceptive, but hopefully in the final analysis you'll see this as a whole where it is going to fit in and work. And I know it's a risk in voting for a project like this. People are looking at these votes, but we hope you'll do the right thing and help us move this project forward. We've put a lot of effort into this project.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Thank you. Should we revisit our criteria and try and put something together here? Is that how do folks feel? I think that's the next logical step.
Yeah.
All right. So number one, the exterior features. Let's remind us how that is actually written in.
The effect of the proposed work in changing the drawing affecting the exterior features of the landmark or landmark district upon which such work is to be done.
Okay, well, it's the landmark district that we're focused on here. This is vacant land. So.
I want to avoid going through what we just spent an hour going through.
This is
And
true, but we
we'll
need.
arrive at the front.
Okay, so what do you think?
Saying 15 minutes.
All right, I do too, but we do need to tie our commentary to these, and we need to be as express and open about this as possible. I think that's the process we're charged with here.
Okay.
So, do we want to, we went through this, we worked massing, architectural design, and then sort of the other influences category. I think we need to be explicit about each one for a future review, should that occur. So, exterior features of the landmark district. From my point of view, they have come a long way in responding to the exterior features of the rest of the district. You weren't here for the earliest rendition. We had Irish size, yellow brick, very different kind of aesthetic than what we're looking at now. I feel like there has been a response to that concern from where we began. Whether it's perfection or not, I'm in no position to say, but I want to acknowledge the distance that the project has come and highlight that. The division between the ground floor and the upper floor at one point was really jarring to me. It's less so now. I think that they've made a stride there. That's what I'm seeing from where we began. What comments do other folks have?
I am really trying to accept the 83-foot by 68-foot massing of the building at this site. A little present for a building of that size at this location, in the hill, on the hill. Not at the base of the hill. I can't dismiss that. I am concerned about how such a building of that exposure will impact the interpretation and reading, the enjoyment of the elegant Italianate row building at West Strand.
Does the setback into
Even
the
setback,
hill
if you're-
minimize
if
that
you're
at all
sitting-
for
If you're
you?
walking anywhere around here, you'll, anywhere in this vicinity, not just sitting, not just walking along the street.
But you're thinking along the promenade
I'm
in
thinking,
particular.
I'm thinking from away, I'm thinking from walking this way, I'm thinking from walking through.
How does it
park.
take away from your enjoyment here? This would be its own, it is its own building by design. To me, what this does is create really great variety, frankly. I think it's a healthy addition and only highlights. They do this in Europe all the time, where they have new buildings next to older buildings, and it's fine.
First of all, I let you speak without interruption.
I'm sorry.
We're trying to get to a conclusion. We won't agree, and I'm sorry. When I say I'm concerned about 83rd, I'm not talking about replicating a road, but the reading of a road at Italianate row houses. I'm thinking, how do you make the presence of the new building quieter so that it's not a distraction, or it's not calling so much attention to itself? I think the activity alone, people will know it's the Irish Cultural Center. I don't think it needs a shout, to hear. I think the architecture can be quieter. But at 83 feet wide, it is competing, no doubt, with the historic West Strand. It is. And no matter the fact that it's set back 20 feet from company's house, you will still see the two masses, historic development and the new development in close relation to each other. In terms of the architecture, I've expressed that the Beale Street side is an improvement from what was previously proposed, which seemed more like a early 20th century interpretation of an industrial utilitarian building. This building, it reads more like a 19th century stable building. It's quaint. It fits into the neighborhood. I do see it as an opportunity for interpreting what a 21st century masonry building can be in the Roundhouse. I think that, drawing that idea of what a 21st century masonry building is through to the Company Hill path side with less emphasis on terraces could help solve the question of, is the building too loud on this site?
Loud in the sense of?
Visual, architecturally loud.
You also said something about people as well.
The balconies, the railings of the balcony.
So you're just talking about the design of the railing?
I'm talking about the fact that there are 3 levels of outdoor spaces and the roof terrace with the balustrade. There's a lot of yeah, I guess balustrade, railing, outdoor space, which will be occupied with things and people. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening on the exterior of the Company Hill Street side. Right, and that's those are my concerns in a nutshell. If we're talking just chiefly about material, I love the front story. I love it. I think that is great. And I'm in full support of that's great.
Additional comments? Exterior match with the neighborhood. All right, so we've got at least two strong opinions not necessarily going in the same direction. We need to talk. What are people thinking?
I can repeat what I said in different words.
No, I think you've said your piece. I really value your eye for detail here and your vision of how things will fit together. The massing is of less concern to me, and the fact that it may call attention to itself is almost unavoidable within a building in an old neighborhood. But it could be I don't know if there's anything I can recommend that would change the mass. I think we have to decide whether we're comfortable with it or not. Yeah, that they can't change it. It made that clear.
They can't. In one particular program, we don't regulate use. We don't regulate interior programs.
Right. We don't.
We do regulate size. Falls into our review. And the question is the size appropriate size of this building, regardless of its use, appropriate for this site?
That is the question. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's more about proportional size and scale of everything. It's complex.
Okay. Proportionate.
Yeah.
And if I'm reading folks right, you are uncomfortable with the scale. You are also uncomfortable with the scale. I don't have a read on you.
I'm uncomfortable with the scale. I think it's as big as it can be. I think that it's fitting into the lot as much as they can, and I know that they've said that they've minimized it, but it feels as though it's taking up as much space as it can possibly take up. I'm uncomfortable with that.
Interesting.
Now, what is the basis for the commission having the authority to deal with the size of the building?
It's just what we said, context, it's not the size, it's context.
Thank you.
You have a comment?
I agree, yeah, I'm concerned, I think your studies are amazing in bringing us further along to understand the impact. And I'll just repeat what I said a little bit. It's the depth, for me, that exacerbates the feeling of just over the boundary of comfort. Yeah.
Okay. I guess I'm standing alone in being less concerned with the width and massing. The visual study gave me a sense of it's fit into the hillside, it's fit with what's nearby. And I expect it will stick out. And I'm not upset with that in the same way that you are. I think I'm feeling as though this is a new building that will call attention to itself. And as long as it's not entirely jarring or entirely out of context, architects. I believe they've made large strides in change to the design to make me more comfortable with allowing its bulk as it's designed. Also, the fact that it's set back behind the strand line, for me, will reduce the possibly overwhelming nature of that facade. I think that's that allows me to perhaps envision it as fitting the site because of the way it is tucked into the hillside. I think it will be its own visual feel and be less jarring than the flat facade may be. And I'm taking for me to take an aesthetic risk is easy because no one has ever accused me of having great taste architecturally. But that's what is allowing me to be less concerned than what I'm hearing from you. I don't know if that sways anybody or not, but that's fine. So that's where we're standing on the exterior features. It also is the relationship to the neighborhood. I think it's the same discussion. Do we want an agreement there, or is there some other criteria that you think kicks in there that we need to talk about?
I think if you think about the future couple of years down the road, it just seems like this will influence change around it because of its nature and its size. I don't see the people living next to it living there. So I think that they might just move and might change that entire block.
Do you think it
Not
would be
more.
promoting commercial use instead of residential?
Yes. Like I said, I live in this neighborhood and I would like to see the center built. I really would. But
And would that would be more of a zoning question than what we're really focused in on. But, you're right, yeah, that counts as relationship to neighborhood in my estimation.
it's a preservation question too.
Right, but we have to take a stand back and go, we don't regulate use. What will this do to the structures around it is really our purview. And do you think it would have an impact on that level, on the just physical layout of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
In what way?
I think it would completely change the nature of the dynamic of the block, and obviously, and.
Well, yeah, you're right. I understand that, but do you think it would change so that they would be adding on to buildings or looking to poke through roofs, to extend buildings, to change that physical fabric of the historic district?
I
Because
don't
that's
know, I
really-
just think that it might inspire the residential buildings next to it to then become different. Maybe offices or something that will seem more appropriate for the location being close to the center.
Okay. So not necessarily changing the physical fabric, but changing
Not necessarily,
the
right?
activity that would be happening nearby. It would be less residential.
It would certainly be less quiet.
That makes sense. Okay. Any other points about the relationship to the neighborhood that we haven't talked about? All right. The color design arrangement, architectural value, I think we've discussed this. Is there anything that in what Mr. Porter brought back that colors it for anyone? Shifts any judgment on that? For me, I appreciate learning where some of the inspiration came from. I see that. I think it has been carried in, and that is adding architectural value to this design that I did not see early on. That I appreciate. The color is a huge improvement in my opinion. The arrangement and design, I tend to defer to folks with better architectural eyes than mine. What do you, is there anything we haven't hit that someone would like to bring to the table? All right. And last was other influences. What's the exact wording there? I keep forgetting.
The special characters that ensures that any structures involved as to the area.
Oof, that's actually an interesting two-sided sword.
I mean, yeah, characters, new characters, and it is some building typologies and architectural. It draws from historic details of other buildings that are no longer standing. But it's got its own, in terms of where it's cited, it's new precedent in terms of its scale for its use, it's new precedent.
I don't think we're going to see another proposal like it. There isn't a lot of vacant space in the roundabout to deal with at all. The old sports meat packing plant, is that what you're thinking of?
The former synagogue. Isn't there a structure that is not being moved? Maybe it has a sort of roof line issue, set back a bit.
I mean, between the synagogue and the house, they put the
Can you,
brick building.
can you pull out that aerial view site plan with the sort of labels of, can you-
This building. I don't
see
think
where
it's
we are?
inhabited at all.
The roof can't be fell off.
That's got the blue tarp roof.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
We just repaired that one.
Okay.
That had a couple of porches.
They have what?
A couple of porches.
And your question on that one is?
It's not, it hasn't seemed to be lived in for a lot of years. It seems like an interesting old structure. So it could, if it's not being maintained, it could be an empty lot at some point. There's been a lot
Well,
of development.
that's part of what we're here to prevent.
Right, it has been on the inventory before of what's happening in this particular structure.
Right.
So, and it's in the neighborhood, so I'm just saying.
Oh, you're thinking that, all right. Well, the only other area that is, actually honestly way bigger would be on the other side of the bridge. And that would be, I think, architecturally so separate that it wouldn't have some of the same concerns that we have
Right,
here.
We're forced was.
Wouldn't it be nice though, if it was built on the other side of the bridge to replace some of the architecture that was lost?
Well, that is this, it's mostly city urban renewal property. We don't, someone's gonna have to talk to the city directly. This is shoehorning itself into a unique site. It certainly is. And it is a unique opportunity and a unique challenge. And our question is, to what extent does it fit? And there's going to be more than one opinion, that's obviously clear. I think we have pushed them and gotten some changes that I'm happy to see. I don't know if there are specifics that we could propose that would make a difference. You proposed perhaps narrowing the building. They've come back and made clear that that's just not going to work. Quieting a facade, I'm not entirely sure what that means. You have a better view on that than I.
I think, we can talk all around this. I think what we're saying that this building is, its massing is is too much for the site, if there's, so we talk about architecture, but the bulk of this building is overwhelms the site and its location, and it's, I guess we're saying is in a relationship, so.
All right, so what we're saying is too big. I'm hearing too big, I'm hearing too big, I'm hearing maybe too big, hearing maybe too big. And I'm saying, well, all right. I think then we have reached the conclusion we're going to reach. What I'm hearing is a fair amount of, we're going to have to word this so as to tie to these specific criteria. We've discussed how that's going to be done. I'm going to ask for a motion, and I'm thinking that the motion is going to be a motion to deny. And so we are going to have to be very specific in tying to the criteria at large. Now, I will entertain a motion that someone would like to move. Go for it.
I move that our commission find as a fact, or as facts, that the proposed project, Irish Cultural Center at 32 Reveal, owned by the Irish Cultural Center, if completed according to, if as shown as the plan presented to us at this meeting, is not compatible with the character of the historic district, for the reasons that the project would affect the proposed work, it will affect the exterior features of the landmark district in its scale, in its location, and its architectural rendering on, at least on the Company Hill path. That the relationship between the results of the proposed building and the exterior architectural features of the neighborhood, neighboring improvement, would be impacted by the scale and architecture of the proposed building. That the factors of aesthetic, historical, and architectural values and significance, architectural style, design, arrangement, texture, material, and color, while are compatible in materials and texture with the historic district. Its size and its architectural rendering is not compatible with the values and significance of the district. And the special character and the aesthetic interest that this structure would bring is injurious to the character of the historic district. Based on the preceding findings of the fact, I move that this Preservation Commission deny a certificate of appropriateness to the Irish Cultural Center for their building at 32 Beale Street.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor of denial? In favor of the motion, I'll give the motion to deny. We have 2 in favor. All those opposed? And we have 2 abstentions. Am I reading this correctly? All right, we cannot render a decision with less than 4 people. This puts us in a fairly complicated situation. Kevin, can we have a word with you?
Sure.
I think,
Enter an executive session.
yes. We need
So,
to understand where
who's
this leads us.
moving for executive
I'm
session.
moving for executive session so that we can confer with council. Thank you. And then we would invite the applicant to represent as you would wish. We would also invite the public to make comment at that time. We're going to have to do this over again until we can get a vote, 4 votes one way or another. And I thank you for your patience, I thank you for your input, and we will see you in September. Any questions on the procedure that I can answer? Thank you kindly. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I hear a second over here. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.